It's a high-tech conversation.
And a low-tech topic.
Live on the World Wide Web via Zoom. Bench Talk 101.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bench Talk 101. Tonight we have a little surprise. Well, not really a surprise because I advertised it over the week, but a little bit of an unusual talk for us this week with three speakers. Jim Hendricks, Richard Arnold, and Sarah Carter, speaking on behalf of Bill Carter. I'm going to hand over to Richard Arnold, who's going to begin tonight's talk.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bench Talk 101. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Richard Arnold, and I'm a joiner cum cabinet maker. And tonight we're sort of talking about our open days and our charity draw. And I just wanted to give a bit of a talk about how this all started. I'm going to see if I can share screen now with everybody. If I can, wait a minute, I've lost the, there we go, share screen, just bear with me. Sorry. Yeah, so primarily this talk is about the charity draw that we're going to be doing, but this all started a long time ago, back in 2014, and what actually started it off was a group of friends on a online site that some of you may be aware of called UK Workshop. We decided to get together. What it was actually about was, I'll admit now, my confession, I am a tool collector, mainly 18th century woodworking tools, mainly wooden planes. And as most collectors know, that sometimes you have to buy a lot of tools just to get the one that you're after. And that sort of grew and grew until I got a workshop overloaded with surplus tools, and it was getting a little bit out of hand. And I thought, what can I do about this? And I thought I could try and sell them or whatever, but do I really want that hassle? And I thought maybe I could do something for charity. What about if I try to get rid of them for charitable donations? And I thought, well, it'd be perhaps nice to have a social event. Why not put on an open day at the workshop, put all the tools out, tell people to come along. If they wanted to help themselves, take what they want and just put some money in a box for a charity. And I sort of thought, well, what charity am I going to go for? And I thought long and hard about it and looked at various alternatives, and I sort of honed in on Macmillan Cancer. I thought it was something that everybody would probably be happy to support. Not really had anything great to do with them, and I've never had problems with cancer myself, and nor with my family, but it was a charity I sort of warmed to, and I thought that's probably something everybody could happily give to, so that's what we plumped for. So in 2014 we had the first open workshop. If I move on, this is sort of gives you some idea of what the workshop is like. This is generally known as the wall of curiosities. This is the back wall of our workshop, and you can see that when we ended up with surplus tools we started hanging them on the wall, but the walls are full now, so it was a question of getting rid of some of the other stuff. So we had our first in June, the first week, Saturday in June, we had our first open day, and it was quite well supported really, and we did all right. And I think we raised just under £1,000 probably, mainly due to Sarah's cakes, I think, and Kate's cakes as well. But we did teas and coffees, and we had a barbecue, and it was a great social event. People said, oh, you've got to have to do this again. So the following year we repeated it. Just a little bit about Macmillan for those of you who are not familiar with them. Macmillan nurses tend to deal with cancer patients, and as I was saying, I've not really had any great dealings with them, but ironically, after we'd done the first year, my father fell ill with cancer and sadly passed away that following year. But we received an amazing amount of help from Macmillan nurses and managed to keep him at home right until the day he died, mainly due to their efforts. So for something that I didn't really know a great deal about, I got first-hand idea of how much they do help people. So this gives you a bit of a picture of what our workshop looks like on an open day. It's a bit like a massive car boot for tools. I think this is a picture from the first year. We just generally set out tables, have a few demonstrations and what have you, and tool displays as well. Some of you may recognise this chap here. This is our dear Andy Tutwell, trying out a sash philister. So it wasn't just about sort of selling the tools or whatever. We did have discussions on various methods of woodworking and have a go sessions and what have you. Like I say, it was a great social occasion, and this is Bill and Sarah holding court at the barbecue. I think that's possibly the second year. And you may recognise this chap here. This was before he knew an awful lot, and he was being taught by other people about planes, I think. But that's Jim and a good friend of mine, Mike Williams, and that's Richard Hughes in the background there, if anybody can't quite recognise him there. Like I say, I think by the third year I got optimistic and thought I might try and put my whole collection of plough planes out. I must have been mad. I've never done it again since, and I don't think I'll ever do it again. But that was my collection of ploughs sort of put out on display on the third year. Andy Tutwell, Andy Brown, also Andy Tools and Taps, some people, is always there on hand to put out a good display and talk to people. It's a great attraction on the open days. I think it was, we were just discussing this earlier, I think it was possibly by the year 2016 or 17, other people brought their tools along to put out for sale or for donations as well. And we started to get some donations of tools that were really too good just to be put out on a table and left for people to make a donation. We thought, well, what are we going to do with these better quality tools? And what we decided was to have an online auction for a number of weeks running up until the open day, where people could put bids in on various things. And this first year that we did it, Jim kindly donated a Lignum Vita mallet in a beautiful box, which I was the lucky recipient of that and won that. I think Jim might be holding one of Bill's little mitre planes there that he won as well. Opposite our workshop, some of you may be aware of Ollie Sparks, the plane maker. I think by about the third year, Ollie had got a workshop set up opposite us, and he's always on hand to give advice on plane making. Here he's giving people instruction on casting, if I remember rightly. Ollie's always been very generous when it comes to the charity auctions, and usually comes up with some pretty amazing things to donate. This was one of his early donations for the auction. It's a beautiful bog oak rebate plane with boxwood sole there. I can't remember actually who won that, but that was a beautiful plane. And this next item was the last thing he donated, which was in 2019. And this was called the Egg and Spoon plane. The saddest thing about this plane, and one of the reasons I put it up as a slide, is that it was won by an Australian bidder and was duly posted out to Australia, and it was delivered to his apartment, which is within a large complex, and it was delivered inside, apparently, to the reception, but the actual person on reception didn't keep a close eye on the parcels, and very unfortunately somebody snuck into the reception and stole that day's post, including the plane. We have no idea. The people who did the stealing were eventually caught and sentenced. I think they actually received jail time for it, but they did not say what happened to the parcels that they took. And unfortunately, we've got no idea what happened to Ollie's planes. So anybody out there ever comes across this, we'd love to see it again one day, but it's somewhere probably in Australia, but whether it'll ever surface again, we'll never know. Moving on to this year and last year, obviously due to COVID, we haven't been able to have the open day at the workshop, but due to Jim's sterling efforts, we've carried on with online donations for various special prizes donated by Jim, myself, and usually Bill. And this year has been no exception. So I just wanted to talk a little bit. I'm sure Jim will talk about his prize that he's donating, and I'm sure Sarah will talk about the saw that they're donating. But this is sort of my effort for this year. Talk a little bit about this. This was the inspiration behind what I actually came up with. This is illustrated in, I can't remember the name of the book, somebody will tell me later, but it's a very famous American book. I think it's Tools Are Art or something like that. And this is what's known as a coachmaker's plow. It's for doing circular work, for cutting grooves into circular work, particularly associated with coach making, but it could be for any circular work. I'm sure joiners use them as well. They're usually extremely rare and usually fetch extremely high prices. What I loved about this one was the fact that he put a violin scroll as a hand grip on the back, and I thought I'd love to have a go at making one of those one day. So that's what I decided to do for this year's auction. Coachmakers plows come in a few different forms. This is a nice boxwood one with a fixed arm and an adjustable fence. This was a bit beyond my scope because I'm not really much of a metal worker. If I had been, I might have gone for something called a falconer's plow. Now, this is one of the rarest tools in the world. There's very, very few of these, and they fetch enormous sums when they come up for auction. But that was well beyond what I could actually cope with. So I thought, what am I going to make it out of? I thought I wanted something reasonably pretty, but I hadn't got a bit of boxwood big enough or a bit of bog oak. So I plumped this year for a bit of English walnut, kindly donated by Mac Timbers, Mike Cawthorne, a good friend of mine. I found this lovely chocolate brown bit of walnut with a nice upsweep in the grain, which I thought would go well with the upsweep of the handle on the back of the plough. The next thing I had to do was find some ironmongery to go with it. So I robbed various bits off of old ploughs, the depth stop, the skate, and what have you, to actually make the plough out of. Coachmakers ploughs are very compact, and one of the difficulties is you've got an awful lot of mortises all very close together in the body, so it takes quite a bit of careful planning to make sure we don't overlap and run into one another. And this is what I'm trying to do now, is trying to set out where I can put the depth stop, the sliding stem for the fence, and the mortise for the actual iron, and cram it all into a very small space. One of the great joys for me in making planes is I actually get to use planes I've made myself in the past. I think a lot of plane makers enjoy that. This is using a rebate plane that's a copy of an early 18th century one to make the fence of the plough, and that's the smoother I made in the background as well, I think, actually. As Jim said when I was making this plane, he says you've left you're running it a bit close because you've left the hardest part till last, and he was right. And I was putting it off because it was always going to be probably the trickiest part, and that was carving the violin scroll on the back of the plane. Thankfully, I've got a little bit of experience with this. I have carved scrolls before, but a long time ago. And this is the start of the scroll carving, where I have taken templates from a book, photocopied them out and glued them onto the scroll and marked the scroll out. So that's the first initial stage of carving the scroll. You then make a series of saw cuts around the scroll and work down to that central spine template. And that's the sort of first start there, the first cuts. Moving on, you slowly work round the scroll, working up around and round until you reach the eye at the top there. You end up with something roughly looking like that, but the scroll's sort of very flat and lifeless at this stage, and it's not until you add the fluted and the chamfers that it really comes alive. So this is the finished article. You can see that the scroll now has got sort of a bit more character to it with the fluting in. The walnut came up a beautiful colour and was finished with Shane Skelton's peacock oil. This is another just side view of the plough, and again, lovely wood. Really was beautiful. It was very nice to work with as well. After doing all that, the only thing was does the thing work? So I had to try it out, and thankfully it did work. It's interesting, I've never used a coachmaker's or a circular plough before, and I'm not 100% sure how they were used, so I concluded that you would have to work them from both directions when you work in a curve. So if your groove is central, that's fine. If the groove wasn't central in the workpiece, you'd have to adjust the fence for the left and right hand portion of the groove. This is just another shot of the plough being used. And I think that's it really. I don't want to take too much time up because I know we've got two other speakers, but if anybody's got any other questions about that, they can ask at the end of the other two talks. I'll just stop sharing and pass over to the next speaker.
Okay, thanks very much, Richard. Sorry, I just needed to get unmuted there. Thanks, Renik. Excellent. And I want to amplify that both Richard and Kate have really set the stage for this charity event every year, and it's become one of the now major events of the year, and hopefully next year we'll be able to get back to meeting each other live. I think also, Richard, if you remember rightly, we had quite a few people from overseas, America and various other countries, turning up in Market Harbour in 2019, and hopefully in 2022 that will all start up again, because it's become very much of an international event. I've just actually looked at the Just Giving page, which I looked at this morning. It just tipped, I think I put last night, we've made it to £3,000, and then I've just looked and it's 3,821. So it's just coming up to £4,000 in one night. So it's amazing how much interest there is in the event. We are going to announce today the date of the which I'll leave to Richard at the end of the draw, but it gives us about a month to get a little bit more money together from the donations, and I hope that you'll see the link that Tate, thank you very much, mate, has put up in the chat, and also on Instagram, Facebook, and various other places. You'll see the auction links that are up for the Just Giving page, and you can go and donate any amount whatsoever. It can be £1, it can be $1, it can be $100, it can be whatever you want. And people are very generous, and there's been many people. So every single cent counts, and we want to encourage people to spread the word far and wide amongst your friends, because the more people that donate, obviously, the more we can give to Just Giving, to Macmillan Cancer Nurses, and they've been pretty strapped for cash this year, as you can imagine. So this year I started back in November in the depths of my SAD, which always occurs around about the winter of England, and I made a series of dividers over the last summer, and I thought, oh well, I might as well just carry on. And the golden ratio kept coming up in conversation with various people, so I ended up making a pair of golden ratio dividers, which I went through and had a look at various designs and came up with the one I thought was most aesthetically pleasing. There are various other ones, modern and old, that are being used, and they basically allow you to use a set of dividers to open up and close and set to whatever size you want to be able to put that ratio in one of your woodworking or artistic, photographic, anything designs, because it affects all walks of life, all parts of nature, and all parts of creation. So every year I have to make a box for it, and I'm the world's worst box maker, trust me, and I hate doing it. It's too close to furniture making. But the box is now finished, and here we see it. The little golden ratio Fibonacci at the front, and the problem I had was I wanted to make it out of book match walnut. I'm not very good at finishing, so I spent most of my time making the box. The actual dividers, as you can now see, are safely within their captive today. Just today, put some leather straps on them to keep them from running away and creating the perfect ratio somewhere else in the world. And next to them is a turn screw, which was just a bit of an additional thing to give to people to adjust the various screws on the dividers. Just to show you in some slides, I've managed to put some slides together quickly so that we can see. And this is, again, I'm as bad as you, Richard, at doing this. What do you want, mate? Go on, just help me out here, my dog. So we started out with the drawing as a quick sketch. As you can see, there's 3 arms on a pair of golden ratio dividers and 4 hinge points. So every time you open them up, the middle arm is always 1.618 away from the left-hand side and 1 away from the right-hand side. So you've always got however much you open them up or close them up, you've always got that golden ratio there. So my favorite part of making tools is using brass, and this was no exception. I decided to make it out of solid brass. There are ones available in cheap steel you can get anywhere on the internet, but this is made of solid 4mm brass, all hand filed and all finished off by hand using various hand tools. So once I'd made the dividers, it was then a case of making a turn screw for it. And I'm really running forward quickly here, just so we don't run out of time. And I started out with a piece of boxwood, again, my favorite wood. The boxwood you see here started out as a square rectangular block, rather, and it's now been tapered into an obelisk, 4-sided, and then turned 8-sided and curved round the back. Now, I would love to admit this is my idea, but it isn't. It's part of a photograph I got from a gun maker's turn screw back in the Georgian period, and also recently Shane Skelton has made an absolutely beautiful archer saw which terminates in exactly the same way on the back, and you can see here how all of the facets have to come together at a point. They have to be equal, and they have to be at the right angle, and they have to curve at the right amount. And I will do it again one day if I'm insane enough, I think. But you know, whoever made these for a living in the past and now in the future with Shane, absolutely mad. The ferrule on some of the other ones is actually made out of plate brass and folded, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make it out of solid brass. So I started out with round stock and created a round ferrule, and then basically turned it into an octagonal ferrule. As you can see here, just being finished, each of the facets matching the facets of the wood, and also not just being octagonal, but sloping at the angle of the taper of the handle. And here we see the slot being made for the final insertion of the hardened steel and tempered turn screw blade, which is parallel ground, as Stephen will tell you is the best way to grind a turn screw. So this was how it started and ended up for probably about 2 months ago, having finished to that point. But I then started on the box, and since then that's what I've had to do, and it's taken me a lot longer to make the box than it would ever have taken me to make the tools. Here we see some of the, again, Richard, you're quite right, veneer of walnut. What a beautiful wood to work with. Book matched. I think this is the second time I've veneered anything. And once it was veneered, I actually used the golden ratio dividers to divide the sides up, such that they were a ratio of 1.61 to 1, 1.618 to 1. So the lid is proportionate to the base. And this is how it turned out before it was all fitted out. You can see the lid. Oh, I just lost a dog. Excuse me a second. Come here. Come. Slip off. Are you okay? Sorry about that. Right, so you can see that the that's put me right off now. The lid was separate. It's actually just a decorative top to it to make it support. But I wanted to incorporate the 1.618 throughout the whole theme. And Fibonacci ratio is again a progression of the golden ratio. And so I started out with a rough sketch. I had no idea how it was going to turn out, but Anton, actually, who's with us tonight, helped me out with doing some drawings for me and some computer software so that I can actually work out the design that I needed to make in brass. He also did some basically vector diagrams, they're called, for me to use on my CNC machine to create the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci, which also purportedly makes extensive use of the golden ratio in terms of the square ratio here and the height of the circle. And that's been engraved. That's actually a piece of brass for the lid. And this is the snail of the Fibonacci latch. Having made all of the parts of the dividers, I then sent them off to Ian Fulton, a friend of ours, Richard and mine, at Chalco Stamp and Die, and he hand cut these, the engraving for the 4 sectors between the hinges, as you can see there. And at the very top, you see right in the middle, 1 of 1. So as every year, we only make 1 of everything we do to ensure that it is original for the person who wins it. And finally fitted the plate to the box, as you can see here in the sunshine, the rare sunshine, and the final article as it is now finished with all the flocking done in black inside, and the latch, which now fits and swivels round and locks perfectly into place. It's actually slightly sprung, so as you turn it, the springiness of it runs into the groove and holds it there until you push it and then slide it round anti-clockwise. You know, when you get boxes, it's kind of like the Russian doll scenario. You get this box, and now you think it may go to Outer Mongolia or somewhere, and you've got to make a box for the box. So it's well packaged. I spent all week making that. And somebody said to me, Jim, you really are quite anal about clocking screws, aren't you? So I think the answer to that is probably. But now you can see it can be shipped anywhere in the world, free of charge for anyone to receive, should they win this as one of the three lots that's available tonight. So with that, very rapidly whiz through presentation, I'll pass you over to Sarah, who may or may not need me to show slides. How are you, Sarah? Do you need me to show your slides for you? Sarah? Hello?
I want Sarah to ask you to unmute.
I'm trying.
There you go.
Okay. Right. Well, I'm sorry that you've got to put up with me doing a short presentation. As you know, Bill is very shy, and he's also going a bit deaf. So we like to support Richard and Kate's Open Day every year because it's such a worthy cause. And this year, Bill's not been making that many planes, so he decided to donate one of his saws that he got from Shane Skelton for this wonderful cause. Now, you know what a wonderful craftsman Shane is, and his attention to detail is amazing. Now, this saw, Jim, do you want to put the saw? Picture of the whole saw. Right, this saw is the prototype Swift dovetail saw with a Castello boxwood open pistol grip handle, and it's 11 3/4 inches long and 16 teeth per inch. And this saw has only been used once, so it's as good as new. And Bill has stamped his name. Can you get? I don't think you can see his name on the handle when he received the saw, before he decided he was going to donate it to the raffle. The Skelton Swift was made to mark, oh yeah, that's good, yeah, was made to mark their 5-year celebration. And also he reintroduced the Skelton medallion featuring the peacock, and it gives this, and to give the saw a greater symmetry, he's hand turned a split saw nut of the same dimension on the opposite side, which just gives it that bit of symmetry. Now the handle fits Bill's hand absolutely perfectly, and the balance is just right. And just look at that beautiful detail of the saw, that the handle. And Bill's made sure he's rubbed his DNA into the handle, and you never know, whoever gets it, it might rub off onto them, and we've got a new plane maker. And shall I show them? You can take it off if you want, Jim, the picture. Can you take it off? This is a lovely, lovely saw, and I love the shape of the front. And this handle is superb. It just fits the hand perfectly. So if anybody would like to own this saw, just go to Just Giving and it might be yours. And that's it. It's only a very short presentation, if that's all right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jim, for all of your segments. Impressively, even with 3 speakers, we've managed to make it to the half-an-hour mark quite accurately. So the link to the Just Giving page will be both in the video description of the YouTube channel in the video description, as well as it's available via the link tree, the Bench Talk link tree link, which most of you will have used tonight to join Bench Talk. I'm gonna open up the floor to questions, and I think we've already got one name in the chat. So just like Chester has done, if you'd like to pop your name in the chat, if you'd like to ask a question to any of the three speakers from tonight, please do pop your name in the chat. So I'm going to hand over to Chester.
Hello, everyone. In particular, Ted. It's so good to see him online now. And I don't really have a question so much as I have a request. And the request is to all of you. And this sort of defeats the purpose of entering this and winning it yourself. But I'd like to request all of us share the links to this charity on whatever Facebook pages you have or anything, or just to your friends, and share it so that more people will donate to the charity. I got a confirmation yesterday that 2 people in the States that I had been posting this contest, for lack of a better word, to, that they made donations, and I'm grateful to them. So Jim, as Jim said, that if everybody on the Unplugged community just donated $1, they'd be well off into the thousands that they need. So I'm just making a request to all of you to share this information with as many friends as you have, and do a little begging on behalf of the charity. So otherwise, Richard and Bill and Sarah and Jim, I commend you for your donations. I think it's brilliant. And I just wish I could win any of them. That's it.
Thanks, Chester. I'm going to hand over to Stephen.
Yeah, I have a question for Richard and Jim. If Richard doesn't want to do the metalworking, have Jim do it and make that coach right plane as a joint project for next year. I'm done.
No pressure. You've scared Jim off. He's disappeared.
Mm.
I think Alfie's got excited at the thought of it happening. Okay. Well, I thought I'd give, while we're waiting for other questions to come through, I thought I'd give a mention of Jeffrey's generous offer of holding a course in the future for regulars of Bench Talk, and donating the proceeds of that to the same cause that Richard's donating towards. I don't think we've really got any questions coming through, so I'm going to ask a question, which is, if you could have one of the other's prizes, I want all 3 of you to answer this, well, all 4 of you actually, including Bill. If you were to have one of the other's prizes, which one would you want?
All of them.
Yeah.
Just one. Richard, go on.
No, I think it'll have to be the proportional dividers, because I've got some skeleton saws already. So
I think I probably would have the plow plane, simply because I've got too many skeleton saws now. Actually, yeah, far too many.
We've got too many skeleton saws as well.
Which is why you don't want anything else, right?
I'd quite like Richard. We'd quite like Richard's.
Yeah, from a plain person, that makes sense. I don't feel offended at all, Sarah. I'll give.
That's all right.
Sarah, as a runner-up, you get that beautiful that I'm having to eat. Look at them. Alfie's done to it. Look. Oh. No, I hadn't disappeared actually, Shrenik. I was typing frantically into the chat that I was going to mention Jeffrey as the closing thing, because one of the things I was going to mention was the fact that the draw will be on, now Richard, have we confirmed it's Saturday the 10th of July? Can you confirm that?
Yeah, I think that's confirmed. I think we're happy with that. So we're looking at the 10th of July, which is a Saturday.
And the idea is just prior to that, I will work out what the best vehicle for whether or not we can go live given the circumstances. I don't know whether Facebook Live or YouTube Live or Zoom here or whatever will be the best. And I take it, Shrenik, you'll have some idea on that.
Yeah, we'll discuss that at a later point.
Yeah, it had occurred to me whether we could do a special Zoom meeting for the prize draw, whether that's possible.
You could also do a YouTube live stream, but we can discuss the options after the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the critical part is, and the last thing is there will be, I've confirmed this week, there will be a number of runner-up prizes. As per usual, I've spoken to Matthew and he's going to chuck in a few tins of Alfie Shine for 3 lucky winners. So that will be again shipped free of charge across the world. Nick Gibbs contacted me and said that one of the runners-up can have a year's subscription to Quirkers magazine, which is exceedingly generous of him. And I've had a conversation with our local DJ, Mr. Cole, and he is expecting the release of a book, a famous book. And between him and Andy Tuckwell, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to say anything, but let's just leave it with the fact that there will be a book in the offing, which we think may be available for in time for the prize draw, but we're not going to mention that too much tonight, just in case it isn't available. But I'm pretty sure there will be a 5th runner-up prize. So from a proportional point of view, you stand something in the region at the moment of about a 20-to-1 chance of winning, which is fairly good odds in anybody's standards. So just get ahead, pass on to your friends, donate as much as you possibly can afford, because it is definitely worthwhile, and we're all suffering at the moment from being locked away. So this will come as a great surprise for them. Thank you. I think
we've had another question come through from Alexander. Chester, I'm going to leave you back till the end now. So, Alexander.
On your plane, Richard, I might have just been seeing or not seeing everything, but where the depth stop, is that behind the skate? Because I don't think I saw it in the picture.
Just bear with me. Just bear with me a minute. I haven't got a plane adjusting hammer with me at the moment. The depth stop sort of sits in a conventional place, as would in any normal wooden plough. If I just take this apart, can you see that from that side? It sits to the side of the skate. Can you see that?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, basically sort of just off centre of the actual cutting iron. So it's sort of just off to the side of the skate on the fence side, in pretty much, like I say, a normal position for any plough, but it's very close to the stem mortise, and also quite close to the wedge mortise. Like I say, everything's a bit closed in, close together. So it took a bit of careful planning to make sure there was enough room to get everything in, basically.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, we're over to Andy Tuckwell.
Oh, hi. Right. Again, not a question, I'm afraid, but it needs to be said. I'd just like to thank everybody involved in this. I was lucky enough to have gone, I'm pretty sure, to all of the live events, and it just all came together so beautifully. It was the perfect day out. There were a crowd of like-minded, friendly people, a lovely workshop with welcoming hosts, good food, plenty of tea. Everywhere you turned, you could have a nice chat with somebody. You didn't need to know who they were. You could get to know them. And the more money you spent on tools, the better it was, because it was in a good cause, and there was tools for everybody. There was still tools left at the end. We should have all filled our our car boots even further. It's really, really nice that while we're all missing the live event so much, that you guys have gone to all this trouble and effort to give us something else to really look forward to and something to bring us together. And that's worth celebrating. So well done, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Kind words, Andy. I think we'll move on to Scott Anderson.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I want to say thank you to the three speakers tonight. I thought that was fabulous. I'm going to reiterate what Andy said, and not just about the past, but talk about the future. A little bit about that. I look forward to Bench Talk every week, and I find that this community has grown, and I actually thrive on being here and speaking to every single person here. I feel that everybody has got to know me, accepted me for who I am, and I really look forward to future, not just the what Jeffrey's going to arrange in November, but next year possibly, once COVID actually ends a bit and we can have possibly back in a workshop and everybody get together and meet as much as possible. That means a lot to me. I think meeting just now, this is the highlight of my week, actually meeting people on Zoom. I look forward to a Thursday night. It goes through into the small hours with Shrenik and other people as well. That carries on afterwards. And I think it's just, this community will grow. And I think that the relationships, there's a good word for it. The relationships that we're making with each other will change as time goes on. At the moment with COVID, we can't do that. But I think with places opening up and being able to travel and stuff like that, I just really look forward to the future and being able to meet some of the people I actually see on screen. And I'm sure that's going to happen someday. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers, Scott. I think we'll go back to Chester now.
Hello. Okay, so in case any of you, were wondering, let me see there. I've been switching my camera to the other side so that you guys could look at something. Two pieces that I got from the earlier auctions to give you an idea of the quality of the things that are available. I mean, this was Jim made. It was a copy of an antique French curve in boxwood, and he's amazed that it's still beautifully flat, and it's one of my prized possessions. And I got this in one of the auctions. The other item over there is a small plane made by Boaz Zeffert, a phenomenal plane maker and iron worker in South Africa, and it's one of my prized possessions as well, and also came from one of the charity auctions. I was lucky enough to get both those pieces. This is a little pouch that Jim made for this, but I thought I'd show these off and just said it as a sort of interlude to the whole thing, and hope that they'll maybe inspire people to give more money and hopefully come home with something that's incredibly one of a kind and beautiful. That's it.
That was the second of the French curves, if you remember rightly. I had, much to Ted's delight, a broom problem where I fell over the broom in my workshop.
And I just saw the broom in your presentation tonight. The broom is hanging on the wall, still there. And yeah. I kept thinking, well, maybe you'll have to make another box for your dividers. But
it stayed on the wall since that day because I fell over and I landed on top of the French curve, and the little curve at the end on the left hand side in that photograph, it snapped off. And it was like last day, wasn't it? The last day that I just finished it, and so I had to make another one. But
I think that's the original behind you, Jim, over your right shoulder.
No, yeah. This is the actual original here. Yeah, that's the original from whence it came. So and I was using it to cut the ends of the buttons that hold on the straps for the golden ratio divider. So it's still used today, many years later. Yeah.
I would like to say once again, I'm just so grateful to everybody over the years that has donated. It has been phenomenal. I mean, we get a lot of support from an awful lot of people. So some of the bigger, I mean, Matthew Platt from Workshop Heaven has always been very supportive. Classic Hand Tools usually come to the workshop events, and they're brilliant. They help a lot with the postage. And some of the donations that come in for the auctions, I've got so many donations here from last year that we just couldn't do. Next year, the auction should be phenomenal because I'm still getting donations coming in this year, even though people know that we won't be doing it until next year. People have just been so generous, and we'll have a fantastic array of things for you to actually bid on next year. And I really, really do hope that we can all meet up at the workshop again next year. Fingers crossed.
I think your fundraising will increase amazingly when you can figure out a way to ship to the States one of Sarah's cakes.
Oh, dear.
There's no VOCs in her cakes either, so there's no hazard. It's not hazardous goods or anything like that. They're guaranteed all natural, aren't they, Sarah?
They are, yes. And when Nick Gibbs came the other day, he sat and ate half a cake.
Yeah, I noticed he was doing wheelies down the road on mutt afterwards.
Yes, half a chocolate cake. Oh dear.
But I'd like to point out that you went out of your way as well, Sarah, in the events that we did have when you found out I was diabetic, and you actually made sugar-free cake just for me to and fought off anybody even attempting to take a slice. And the irony was it tasted better. Everyone said it tasted the best of all the cakes, so I had to sort of keep it hidden away. But it's excellent.
Oh dear.
Good old days.
Yeah, looking forward to next year.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to next year. I'm looking forward to this event. I'm very excited about it. You talk about it very fondly, all of you.
Oh yes.
Well,
and also Richard's thing as well. Hopefully we can get to Jeffrey's thing as well.
Yes, and I'm going to hand over to you, Jim, to wrap up before I raise the toast.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much for everybody that's donated so far. And like I say, you will be seeing announcements on every possible media knowing. Everybody that has an email, I'll send Shrenik the details of the draw, when we decide the methodology by which we're going to do the live event. There will be a live event. So I'm absolutely sure of that, because that will be the best way of doing it. As I mentioned last time, it is a double blind thing. So Richard gets Kate to do it, the draw, which are numbers which he allocates to all of the people who donated. I will say once again, because every year we have the same, I guess you could call it a problem, but it's only really a problem. Anybody who donates anonymously, they must send us their notification. They have done so, and all their details, just their name, and it will go in the draw. But if you don't do it, there is absolutely no way we can see within the Just Giving page who has donated anonymously. It is protected by the Data Protection Act. So even Richard can't get that information back once it's donated anonymously. So if you have donated anonymously and you haven't already let us know, and you want to be in the draw, please let us know. So this time it's the 10th today, so a month exactly, we will be doing the draw on the Saturday, and we'll hopefully see you all there, everybody from Bench Talk. So we'll get an email for those that are on the Bench Talk mailing list. It will be on Instagram, there'll be a few announcements, and also on Facebook, where we will put it on the Unplugged Woodworker group and announce it there. So just watch out for that over the next couple of weeks. But thank you all for coming to. It's been brilliant, and anybody that's donated so far, thank you so much. It's really been appreciated.
Just a quick clarification.
Yeah.
On the people who donate, who are not anonymous, you know who they are in the in the
Yes.
event of something.
I will make one caveat to that. Donate. We've had a few where, particularly in America, where a bank has, what banks do tend to do in America, if you donate, they tend to hold the funds in escrow until they've clarified that the security checks are done and it's not a fraud and things like that. So when you donate, have a look at you see below who's donated, and it will give a numerical number of the donors. And then below that will be the very newest donor listed with their name or the word anonymous. And the amount can be made anonymous or shown as well. So you can have a permutation of those three. So if you've donated and you've given your name and you want to double check, the best way of double checking is on that screen on the Just Giving page that you donate on, and it will come up with the final donation that's been made, and just check that your name is there, and that's a double check basically. And because we have had incidents where people have contacted me and said, I donated yesterday and nothing's come up, and we've checked and it's still within their bank, and they've told their bank to release it and the bank's released it. But that has happened probably twice out of 100. So yeah, double check. But yes, if you put your name in as a donor, then you will see it on the list and you will be put in the draw.
I've got one anomaly at the moment that I'm not sure about, Jim. You may know. I had somebody donate who just put their name as Ian, and I'm not sure who that is. Whether it's
Ian at Chalco?
Sorry?
Yes, Ian Halton, I'm pretty sure. I'll check with you for you.
Yeah, if you can check up on that. Without
there was one
name, it's a bit difficult to know. Yeah.
Yes, that's the point. We can work it out sort of sometimes by the comments made. You know, like I'm really missing the sausages and things like that. But there was another one with a B, happy face B, a bulb. And do we know who that is as well? That was another one.
I don't know. I'll have to check that one. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but so
well, on that note, I'm just going to say that make it clear what name you donate by. Just make it clear. And I'm going to ask everyone to raise their glasses and toast both to the bench, but also to a great cause.
Thank you. Thanks for giving us the opportunity. Thank you very much.